Hello, my name is Omar Siam and I'm a senior developer and consultant here at the ACDH-CH. I'm specialized in XML and XSL tools and JavaScript related tools for developing browser UIs and on servers. Let me quickly tell you about the technology used in VOICE Online and VOICE POS. Back in the late 2000s, if you had quite some data in XML, the logical approach was to put it into an XML database. Most quickly found ExistDB for that, which as a project is still around and thriving. So after it was decided that the voice data was encoded in TI-XML and the Java-based desktop application was also used creating the corpus, the then most recent version of ExistDB 1.4 was used. Besides making querying the XML data possible and to an extent even convenient, it was also capable of serving as a server for delivering a web page. It also gave easy access to XSL transformation. XSL is an XML native way of taking TI-XML and generating HTML out of it. That can make good use of a browser's rich capabilities of displaying text in a nicely readable manner. Because also, back then, there were powerful frameworks helping people create almost desktop application equivalent user interfaces. One of those was chosen, CooKS2. This framework probably was more prominent in German-speaking countries, but nonetheless served the purpose of creating a well-usable interface while the developers could focus on this code specific to voice. This is also still around, although it had a period of decline and just recently is fully maintained again. For VOICE POS, the same two tools were used, but with the then most recent versions, for example, ExistDB 2.2. When we were first asked to help relaunch VOICE in 2019, we had a look at the tech stack used and were fascinated how well it had aged, but also we were told what the problems were that the team experienced and that they had grown more frequently lately. One could probably sum it up like this: the operating system and the runtime environment, as well as the XML database themselves that made up the services had their end of life declared a few years before we got even involved. And on top of that, also the people's browsers changed drastically. If you wanted to play audio in the 2000s, there was no better solution than the Flash player. This software was retired after acquiring a very bad reputation for its many security-related problems. We actually fixed the audio playback in the old interface as a very last effort in maintenance. Of course, when re-implementing the whole interface, we ask ourselves, should we use the old techniques? Maybe we could even reuse some of the code that was already there. Two reasons kept us from using the same tools as before, but with today's versions. First, there is a resource-related problem with Java runtime environment, the Java virtual machine. The Java virtual machine's design dates back to the 1990s. And if anyone ran virtual machines back then, they were started with a specific amount of memory that was used exclusively by those VMs. This is a bad approach in our current server environments that try to run as many services as possible on one physical server, and so high lasting consumption of any resource such as RAM hurts and often literally is expensive, as you have to pay the usage by the minute. Searching in ExistDB is the most likely task to consume much RAM, at least while working with the result, and it is quite a task to make a JVM in the 2020s really free the RAM it just needed. Most JVMs out of the box are still set up as if they were the only important service on a server, which often was true in the 2000s, but not so anymore. Second, although we have years of sometimes troublesome experience with running ExistDB, we have no experience whatsoever with the CooKS2 framework.